Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. And this is the day that the Lord has made, and let us rejoice and let us be glad in it. Good morning. So good to see you, and welcome to the Hope TV. I'm Dewey Smith. I'm one of our Hope dealers here, and I'm just ecstatic. I'm excited. I really am that you've tuned in to this episode of Morning Dew on the Hope TV. It's truly a blessing to be with you. I was just thinking early in my meditation time. Our last public worship service was on March 8th of 2020 at the House of Hope here in Atlanta. It was our Women's Day, and that was our last public worship. It's June 8th, so exactly 15 months ago, our last public worship. And shortly thereafter, we decided to just go online, and we were one of the first churches in the nation to cancel suspend public worship, and nobody understood it then. Yeah, I didn't understand. I just knew what was in my spirit. And here we are 15 months later, and hopefully getting ready to go back in a few months. But God has provided, and I'm just thankful to you. And we started Hope TV. I really shared this vision with our team a few days after our last public worship service. And from March 8th until now, this little meager, small vision has turned into a global platform. I'm getting phone calls from pastors and even now professors and seminaries who are calling me, deans of institutions are calling, trying to figure out, the thought process behind it, because I think it's the wave of future in terms of ministry and connection with people. And so I want to thank you guys for being a part of this beta project, I guess, this beta vision that has been very novel, and I'm honored. So everybody who's tuned in, Morning Dew, we've been running Morning Dew strong almost 15 months. And so everybody who's been a part, welcome. Thank you for being a part. Everybody who's tuned in today, whether it be Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Amazon, Fire TV, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, whether it's Twitter, Instagram Live, the Dewey Smith website, House of Hope Atlanta website, the House of Hope West Point, or the HTV Now website, hopetv.com. However you're viewing, thank you for being a part. And if you're viewing today, drop me a line. I want to know the city, the state, and the country from whence you are viewing. Take your viewership very, very seriously here, and I'm thankful to you. I really am. Drop me a line. Let me hear from you. Just drop me a line. Let me know the city, the state, and the country. I want to see those comments this morning, and I'm thankful to you, to all of you. And if you're watching through a platform that will allow you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share, would you be so helpful and gracious to do that? Every time you subscribe, you help us to um, expand the platform, and that's very, very helpful for us. And when you subscribe, you also can sign up to receive notifications as when new content is uploaded, and so you won't miss anything. And so that's very, very important. So subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. If you watch through one of those platforms, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Help us to get that subscription list up. That's helpful as well, as we try to leverage the platform to do other things, to uh, get large shows and to collaborate with either larger networks. Those subscriptions help us to get the respect we need, to know that we are regarded and people do consider us as a legitimate platform. So subscribe. Also, those like buttons are so important. Every time you hit that like button, you help us with our algorithms as well as our social media engagements. That's very helpful to us, particularly on YouTube and now Facebook, because Facebook changes their algorithms all of the time. And so it's very, very helpful that we need you to hit the like button. That helps us to expand. It kind of loosens the algorithm to give us more flexibility to be more viewed and to be more visible. So those like buttons are very, very important. So hit that like button as well. Then those comments, they also help us with our engagements, and they're most helpful during forums like these, because every time you hit that comment, make a comment, it lets me know that we're connected. I want to see some comments this morning, if you don't mind. So if everything's okay, so y'all make sure y'all comment, y'all holler at me. I want to hear from you. Thanks so much. Um, so help me out with the comments, and then the share buttons. Um, that's very helpful today, because the share button helps us to really get exponential growth possibilities. So hit that share button. So subscribe, like, comment, and share. Very, very helpful, and I would appreciate everything you can do in that regard. All right, quick, I want to thank you for your support. As you know, we've been in a creative space for the past 15 months. Um, a lot of creativity, not just with the whole TV been happening, but our worship services at the House of Atlanta. We've had all types of productions that we've done, whether it be anniversary programs, our youth programs. We did something huge for our church anniversary that was multi-generational. We had a short film that was kind of interactive for New Year's Eve. We did a Christmas social justice Christmas reenactment that was major. We just had an Easter production that was written by our own Greg Kirkland called Freed. It was, man, so we've been very, very creative with that. And I didn't tell you this, but I guess I'm going to let the cat out of that bag today. Our media ministry, and I want to give a shout out to them, just received 3 what's called Telly Awards. You heard me right, 3 Telly Awards. Some of our things got submitted. The Telly Awards is, how can I make it live? The only thing that's bigger than the Telly Awards in media and TV would be the Emmys. And so what the Emmys are for for TV, what the Emmys are for TV, for major networks, the Telly is that right up under it. Let me give you an example. In music, the top is the Grammys, right? Underneath it, you have the Stellar Awards, the Dove Awards. So that would be what's commensurate in media, the Stellars or the Dove Award. So we just won, quote unquote, the Dove Award or the Stellar Award uh, for TV, and so, man, crazy, 3 of them, and we won 2 bronze and one. Our first time ever been submitted to this Telly. So you hear more about it. They got a press release coming. Just major. I mean, just the growth that's happening with the media, something I've been doing all of my life. And the media ministry also does Hope TV. So we won three Telly Awards this year. Unbelievable. When you see the list of everybody else that submitted, I mean, major movies and major networks, and here we are, we won 3 of those awards. And so you hear more about it. So just to God be the glory. So good morning. So to God be the glory. So shout out to our media ministry, everybody, our Hope TV team, our media ministry leaders. Shout out to Benton Aladdin, Kim Lake, uh, Tasha Warford, just the whole team, everybody who runs the day-to-day, Miss Finn, everybody, man, because major. Taurus Broadwater, we won three of them, three Telly Awards. So it's some major things. Our media ministry is not award winning, and they're the ones who are responsible for the whole TV as well. So would y'all shout out our award winning media team? And hopefully you'll see those. I can't believe it. It's just I just never even fathomed something like this. So to God be the glory. So that creativity is coming. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, John, Christina. So I'm excited about it. And people see my face all the time, and I got the calling. And it's my assignment. But let me tell you something. But without a team, without people behind you to make this happen, you don't have anything. And for us to get this award, it's a major award, and we won three of them. Our first time ever been submitted into it, and three of them, two bronze, and so I think we won it for our church anniversary celebration. So just amazing, and again, that happened during the pandemic. So they stepped it up to a whole nother level, and God rewarded us and has rewarded us during this season. So, and I believe that team. I received that. God is taking the platform higher because we're a great team. So on top of that, we also with our music, we released music and started a record label in the pandemic, and my project, my first single, is out. I got word yesterday that most added again. Sirius XM Radio has added us. So we're on satellite radio now. So we've gone from just playing it once, but now they've added us, and so I think we broke into the top 40 in terms of radio. So that thing is climbing. It really is, and your presence is a gift. So call your radio announcers because this is climbing the charts. And I talked to two, three station managers, and they're like, "Pastor, this song is hotter than fish grease." So I'm like, "Well, praise the Lord." So shout out to XM Radio for adding us. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, boy. So we're on XM Radio now, and so that's digital, and so that's playing all over the nation. And so we've been adding not just a local station, but Sirius Radio. So I'm excited. So not only is God blessing the media team with 3 Telly Awards, but He's also blessing our record label that we started for the ministry, and to God be the glory. So, and we signed our first artist, Courtney Franklin. He is rising on the charts as well. So God is good. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. You're part of that too. So shout out to everybody. Benton, who's been working tirelessly, with his fingers to the bone to make this happen. And it's a major feat that if we were on a major network, we could possibly apply for. Thank you, Alfred. We could possibly apply for an Emmy, but because we're not on a major network, the next thing is the Telly Awards. We won 3, 2 bronze and 1 silver. So that's not too bad for a little church on the side of the road. So to God be the glory. Thank you, Alfred. So God is blessing us, and we're finishing up everything now. And so go get the projects. Dewey Smith, Your Presence is a Gift, and also Courtney Franklin, who our first artist. We Made It. His single is climbing too, and man, so good music. He's got a great album. So both of those albums will be released this year. And man, we went to refresh some of my stuff to check on some last mixing for our record. And man, listen, I can't wait till y'all hear my record. This whole album, I know they don't say that. They say project, but I can't wait till y'all hear it. It's amazing. And I think I said humbling, but I'm telling you, it's good music. Shout out to my producer, John Webb, for making this happen. It's just been so easy to work with, and it's brought a lifelong dream to fruition in a few months. And during the pandemic, so we've tried to make foolproof our ministry. So we were in the studio all day yesterday working. So that's my voice may be a little, singing and doing everything yesterday. But I think y'all gonna be very happy with this record, this album. I really do. I think you'll be very, very happy. Powerful, powerful. And Courtney Franklin, we made it. His album is just done. So we ready. It's gonna be a great year. And then our church is releasing a single in November. So it's gonna be a great time, guys. A great time. So Dewey Smith, my record, Courtney Franklin's record, and also the single. We're not gonna release the whole album for the church because we're going to put, we're going to do a single in November for the church, Dewey Smith and the House of Hope. So we're going to do a church record. So that's going to be released in November for our church 145th anniversary. So to God be the glory. I agree, team, the setting platform. That's what everybody's saying, that this is a new way. This is going to be a new way of discipleship. So Hope TV is off the chain. Our media ministry off the chain. And God is allowing the music to flourish like I felt God could, but never thought was possible. I knew God was possible, but God is doing it. And we're going to be making music for a long time. All right, let me give y'all this last chapter. We're closing the book of Colossians today. And I wanted to do it Thursday, was unable to do it. So we're going to close it out today, this Tuesday. And we've been going through Colossians. Thank y'all for journeying with me on this journey. It's been a journey, and I've enjoyed it immensely. It's been substantive. We've just gone through the book. You can never go wrong by going through the book. And verse by verse, and we just stopped and let the Lord speak to us suddenly. That's right. Don't start. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. You're right. God is blessing our ministry. And people are blown away. I mean, for media and music, because we got 2 songs on the most ad list on a brand new label. What they do that at? How you start a new label in March, and and introduce your label in March, and by June you got 2 songs on the most ad list from 2 different artists on a brand new label. What they do? You on Billboard? What happened? Tell me what happened. I'll be waiting, because it doesn't. It's head swimming blessing. So to God be the glory. All right, we've been going verse by verse through Colossians, and verse by verse through Colossians, and it's been a joy. I felt led to do Colossians because of the parallels I told you. What was happening in the first century in Colossae is eerily similar to what's happening now. They say nothing new under the sun, and this Colossae had once been a great territory, growing, flourishing in the 4th and 5th centuries BC. By the time the 1st century AD comes, it's kind of taking a downward spiral. Money's down. The wool industry is not making a bunch of money. Sheep herding is not doing what it used to do. Colossae is no longer a travel destination. There were all kind of crazy doctrines going on there. All kind of stuff is being taught. Gnosticism, the beginning stages of Docetism and Cerinthianism. All these heretical teachings were happening there. Basically, they were, in a real sense, denying that Jesus came in the flesh. And that's really what Gnosticism was all of them were dangerous. But Gnosticism, it just basically said there was no virgin birth, there was no incarnation. Jesus never came in the flesh. And so this is what was happening in Colossae. So Paul wanted to kind of refute that by saying, in him, in Jesus, dwelleth the fullness of the Godhead bodily. I see Colossians 2 make that statement, that in Jesus, in him dwelleth the fullness of the Godhead body, in bodily form. That's a direct refutation of what was being taught there, Gnosticism. So we kind of gone through the whole book. We went through relationships, redemption. We just been a good series, I thought. And the last couple of weeks we've been dealing with relationships, relevant relationships. We went through about 8 or 9 different names, places that all had some spiritual emphasis. And we talked about the relationships. If you missed it, go back and check those last 2 weeks out of Morning Dew. Some rich stuff was in there. You read the last 10 verses, you would think it's nothing there, but it's a lot there. It really is, but you got to dig deep to get it. And today, as we close out the book of Colossians, that's good, Tim, great. As we close out the book of Colossians today, the title today, and I'm not going to be long because it's really one verse, but it's powerful. I think the title today is When You're Ending a Chapter. When you're ending a chapter. What a powerful, powerful book and a powerful way. And this is thank you, Tina. This is the very last verse of Colossians. He's ending the chapter. He's really ending the book. And I was like, what can I call this? Holy Spirit said, call it When You're Ending a Chapter. Endings are very, very important. And how you close one chapter will probably indicate what the next chapter is going to look like. And there are times when chapters have to be ended. There are times when you got to write the last to closing You put an epitaph on that chapter. That time when you got to maybe start a new one. Um, maybe on a job. Sometimes chapters end, and you have to start anew. Sometimes in relationships. Um, Sometimes you may not throw the book away. Good morning, Dr. Williams. Sometimes you may not complete the book necessarily. Just you're opening up to something new. Sometimes you've been struggling in one way. Sometimes you got to get resolved, peace to go on. Do you alter? Do you shift? Do you trust God to continue the chapter? Sometimes you have to evaluate: has this chapter been good to me? Has it blessed me? Have I grown in it? Grown in it? There's a book called Necessary Endings that I read a couple of years ago. It was a very powerful book. And how you close a chapter. One of the main things of that chapter is how you close one chapter. How you close a chapter will determine your success in the new one. And so chapters in every area, the closing of chapters is very, very important. I think I think even in terms of this pandemic, we got to begin to figure out how we're gonna close a chapter on the last 15 months. I think we have to be careful about hastening to get back to where things were. So many people are, and it bothers me. They want to hurry back to what it was 15 months ago, not realizing that world is no longer there, that frightens me because people should be. I think I've always been kind of more visionary, but a lot of my colleagues they really think that we're going back to what was, and not realizing when you get back there, that there is no more. I watched a movie the other day with my son about DMX was on the movie, and good morning, Mike. I think that my frat brother. That is Rue. Um, it was a movie DMX was in it years ago. I had never seen it. They were bank robbers at Gabrielle Union, but the movie came out in 2003, and we watched it here at the house. And because I never seen that movie, I came. But anyway, DMX they were bank robbing for jewelry. But anyway, long story short, what got me when I watched the movie, they had flip phones. They would have flip phones and so you can see it was dated from a technological perspective. How much we've come since 2003, 18 years, and it made me think about where we are now. So many of us, we're trying to hurry to get back to that world, and it's gonna be just like watching that movie. It's gonna be like you go from smartphones back to flip phones. Anybody got a smartphone right now? If you see somebody right now with a flip phone, your uncle, your grandmama, you know they are weird and you don't even have to have a conversation with anybody now. The moment you see them pull out the flip phone, you know automatically they're from another era and from another day, from another time. You don't have to talk to them about what they believe. You know they're technologically challenged. Now it's one thing if that's all they can afford. I'm not talking about them, but if somebody pulls out a flip phone right now, automatically you can kind of believe, yeah, they in another space. And what I believe is happening now, so many of us are trying to return back in a flip phone chapter, not realizing to go back there, that day is over and that day is come. And Paul really is coming to this point now in his life where he realizes that his writings to the Colossians, that is coming to the end. He's not going to write another letter. We're not going to get another letter that Paul wrote to the Colossians. And he's coming to the end. It's interesting that with the Philippians, he was more adamant about visiting them, not necessarily with Colossae. So Paul, I really was wondering what was on his mind. Um, I'm not sure if he even thought about. I'm not sure if he even thought about visiting them. Well, he told the Philippians, y'all get ready. I'm gonna come see y'all real soon. But he really is not that adamant. He says, if I live as Christ. He says in Philippians, I'm gonna be here, man. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here a while. Doesn't have that same kind of declaration with the Colossians. He's not as eager, not as excited about coming to see them. Really not. He doesn't say much. I'm gonna get my room ready. When I come in. So it's kind of interesting how he ends this chapter. Not get ready. I'm coming to see y'all soon. So it's an ending. He's ending a chapter. I don't know if he's thinking more about death at this time. Not really sure what was in his mind necessarily on that, but it's ending. And I really believe that while coronavirus is not ending, schools are opening back up. People begin to challenge it again. People are beginning to travel again. So how we've been the past 15 months, that's ending. So I think even with that being said, how are we going to reacclimate into society? Our perspectives, we keep the same mentality. How are we going to get back, you know, traveling, going to games, kids being back in school, shopping malls, eating, restaurants. How will that look going forward? Some stuff has to end, and so I think it's a great way, and I think so it's very, very relevant. And so Paul, as he ends this chapter, when you're ending a chapter, that could be on your perspective, and I think it has to be very non-emotional because sometimes we can end something prematurely. Sometimes we can end something slowly. Sometimes people get frustrated in the middle of a blessing and they end it. Sometimes people can't see that the blessing is in ending it. So we got to be careful because the emotions can make you end it too quickly, or the emotions can make you end it way too slowly. And so I think it's an art, it's a fine line, and we need God's help when it's time to end. How do I shift from one to the next? When is it time to shift from one to the next? Is this good for me? Is it helpful to me? Is it pushing me forward? When is something holding me down, unhealthy, and it's toxic for my life? And some of us have been holding on to some toxic and negative chapters. And you wonder why toxicity and negativity are part of who you are. Because there's a chapter you're remaining in that's nothing but toxic and nothing but negative. And so you gotta, it's important that you end that chapter. And if you have some bad moments within the chapter, doesn't mean the chapter's supposed to be ended. It doesn't mean that novel, that book is over. Every book, if it's a good book, is going to go through a myriad of emotions and changes. So sometimes the enemy can make you try to end something that's really your blessing. Jesus on the cross is a bad part of that chapter, but it's necessary for fulfillment. So Paul is ending the chapter to the Colossians. Yeah, it really is. How do you end a chapter? How do you end a relationship? How do you know this season on this job is over? How do I get back into, okay, I've been at home for 15 months. How do I end this chapter as a pastor? How do I end this pastor as a chapter? How do we get back being home? How do we end just being virtual? How are we gonna have this hybrid approach? What should be the steps in getting back to public worship while still maintaining online audience? We're not gonna stop doing online ministry now. We still gonna be just as vociferous in our online ministry. Hope TV is not going anywhere. Even when we go back to worship, we're doing surveys trying to figure out, okay, how do we end this chapter? So this ending piece is very, very important. Paul ends. I'm gonna lift a couple things, and I'm gonna let you go. Paul ends the chapter, and thank you. Cal is asking why. That Cal Jacobs, that my Cal Jacobs from Beulah. That my Cal. That's my Cal. That's my Cal Jacobs. I hadn't seen Cal. Cal was part of my ministry almost 30 years ago. That's the looks like her. Wow, Cal, I hadn't seen you in, man, over 20 years. God bless you, Cal. One of my favorite and supportive members. So is that Sobio Thomas? This is amazing. Thanks so much. Yeah. How do we end the chapter? It's a great lesson. I don't know if that's Sobio or not. That's Sobio Thomas, my member too in Beulah. That's two. I got two Beulah people on here. Two people that I love. Lord, it still support me. Is that dude? If that's Sovio Thomas and Cal, if that's Sovio Thomas and Cal Jacobs, y'all have made my year. I love y'all so much. I hadn't seen y'all. I seen Sovio recently. I ain't seen Cal in over 20 years. Wow. God bless you. I guess I've been here 18 years, so almost 20 years. But anyway, so how do you end the chapter, fam? How do you end the chapter? And Paul ends his chapter in Colossians. I don't think Paul. I think Paul, and I think this was a true ending for Paul. I There's nothing in the letter that made me believe that Paul was trying to say, "I'm coming to see y'all." It's almost like he's signing off for real. Now, when I read Philippians, I don't read the same way. Like when he wrote Rome, his desire was to get to Rome. So it's almost every book you can see a different kind of motif. Like he wanted to get to Philippi. He wanted to get to Philippi to be with them and see them. He told them, he said, I'm coming to see y'all. We're gonna praise the Lord together. You know, we'll be together real soon. It's gonna be a great reunion. That's not the same kind of, so it's a different, even though he's writing, the way he approaches it is different. It's almost like in our lives, there's some folks that you want to stay connected to visit, to reconvene with. That those are Philippian moments. There's some people like Colossae. I'm just gonna write this letter, and when I do it, I'm done. So it's a different kind of perspective here. So what does it say? The first thing Paul talks about here, and how you end a chapter. When you end a chapter, whether you just shifting the chapter, whether you altering the chapter, whether you just changing the dynamics, whether you end it and to never deal with them again. The first thing he talks about to me is survival. That's my first point. Um, it's like he talks about the reality of the power of survival. My God, the power of survival. I want to put that scripture there right quick. Yes, that's what the power of survival. You got to know if people love you, if people really want you, if people want you or want your stuff. Some people don't love you; they love what you brought off their lives. They don't really love you; they love what you offer. They don't, and they don't love you. Here's what we got with Paul. Paul says, "I'm signing off in my own handwriting." Can you put the NIV? That's the Message Bible. Put the NIV up there because I want to look at the NIV. It's the power of survival. Did you get an NIV version? Yeah, he says, "I Paul write this greeting. I Paul write this greeting. I Paul write this greeting." Put the other one back up. Message Bible. That's key. I Paul NIV. Put the Message Bible back up there for a second, please, if you don't mind. So I Paul, the Message Bible. I'm signing off. This is great. I'm gonna talk about this some tomorrow in Bible study. This is Paul said. This is not a pseudepigraphal writer. This is not something that I dictated to somebody. It's almost as if Paul is saying, y'all might not see me again. But when y'all get this, I don't want you to wonder about the validity of it. I'm not sending this manuscript to nobody else. I, Paul, I wrote it. That says to me, Paul says, I'm in this chapter, but it's important that y'all know this. Although this chapter is ended, my life is not. I wrote it. I'm alive. Woo! Don't y'all make me run on this Tuesday morning, because I will. I know this is morning dew and it's supposed to be devotional, but this thing shouts me. Here's why. Paul says the chapter is ended, but I'm not. The chapter may be ended, but with my own hand, with my own quill, with my own parchments, I'm writing this. Not an emissary, not a friend, not a mentee, not somebody who dictated it for me. Not a translator. I wrote it. So out of all the stuff I've gone through, and if you don't see me again, don't doubt. You may doubt why I'm not coming back, but don't doubt that I'm not alive. And what a blessing it is, family, that through all we've gone through the past 15 months in your life, chapters you've ended, people that you stopped seeing, the job may have closed, your key card may not work on that place no more, the plant may have shut down, your section may have shut down. That might have stopped, but you're still here. It's the power of survival. It's so important to know that the chapter does not indicate you. You can outlive the chapter. The chapter's done, but I'm still here. With my own, it's me. I made it. Don't think because you might not see me again that I'm dead. Don't think because because I'm not coming to see you, Don't think because we're disconnected, I'm going to lay down and die. Mm-mm. Some of you have had to end some relationship chapters. And you finally got enough strength to realize they didn't love you, they didn't help you, they didn't support you. It was all you doing all the giving. Okay? The end of that chapter was powerful. Some folks even may have told you you can't make it without them. Just let them know I'm writing this letter with my own hand. I wasn't forced to write it. This ain't liquor talking. This ain't depression talking. This ain't my therapist talking. This is me talking. I'm alive to write it with my own hands, which meant everything I've gone through in Colossians in the previous chapters didn't take my life. I'm here. I'm able to write it. And you ought to give God praise if God has let you survive some hellacious chapters, that you got enough sense, got enough mental acuity and mental faculties to write it with your own hand, to dictate your experiences, the good and the bad. What I love about it, Paul says, I've gone through suffering, but it didn't take my sanity. I can still write it I can still write it. I can still write it. Come on here. You ought to sometimes, you know what you ought to go to Publix or go to CVS and go to the card section where they sell greeting cards. And you ought to get a greeting card to your haters and to those people who wanted you dead, who thought you couldn't survive without them. And you ought to get it to them and write them a thank you card. As a matter of fact, just get them a card and just say, I'm writing this. Goodbye. Hey, all right, I'm still here. The supervisor did you wrong and you got laid off and got fired and tried to survive. And you know how you going to survive. But realize now that God had a ram in the bush. And you have been able to make it on less. Some of you in the pandemic, mind your businesses went short. Lord have mercy. The customers weren't coming through like they should. But you still got the business. 15 months later, you ain't missed no meals. Matter of fact, some of you gained 5, 10 pounds throughout the pandemic. How you doing it? You know why? Because it's the power of survival. I give God the glory and the praise. Do you know today is 15 months 15 months. You didn't take 15 months we had service last. And when we cancel service, people saying to me, man, you ain't got no faith. Let people come have church. These preachers, these old scared coward preachers, shutting church down because they ain't got no faith. They're scared of disease. And I looked at someone, I want to say something back because you know I'm from Macon, Georgia. I know how to be flippant. I want to cuss them out. But here's the reality. It didn't take faith to have church. I've been having church, public worship all my life. That don't take faith. What takes faith is telling people to stay home because you love them and don't want nobody getting sick and dying. What took faith is saying, stay home, we're going to do it all online and believe that God's going to still provide for the ministry. And I want to I want to write a letter to myself and every hater who said we didn't have faith and say, we're still here. I'm still here. I'm still here able to talk to you. This is me. This is E Do at home. This is me on this June 8th. This is live, Reginald. We're still here, Reginald. This is live. This ain't pre-recorded. I didn't record this one in March to play it in June. No. This is me. I'm live. I'm still here 15 months later. This is me. You see this face? I'm here. Woo, you're here to tell the story. And I think whenever chapters end, don't forget the power of survival. Because sometimes depression will creep in and make you think you're dying. Depression and despondency will creep in and make you think you ain't gonna make it. But when the chapter is ending, you got to realize the chapter is ending. But just because the chapter is ending, don't mean you're not. And because you're not, means God has more chapters for you. I'm still standing by the grace of God. I got to give God glory. And when the storm is over, I'm still gonna be standing. Come on now. That's the power of survival. So when you're in the chapter, you got to understand the power of survival. Okay? The power of survival. But not only must you understand the power of survival when you enter the chapter. The second thing you got to understand when you're in the chapter is very, very important that you understand is the presence of the supernatural. The presence of the supernatural. It's the power of survival, but the presence of the supernatural. What do you mean the presence of the supernatural? Put the verse back up there. It's right there in the verse. Look what he says here about the presence of the supernatural. He says, I, Paul, write this greeting. Check this out. In my own hand. I see you, Desmond. It's my hand that's writing it. This is my hand that's writing. So my hand is writing this. I'm in the chapter with my hand. But I want you to think about the image. Look at the image. I love the NIV here. Thank you for that verse. I'm writing this with my own hand, but remember my chains. Woo! I'm writing it with my hand, but remember my chains. Look at the imagery there. I got chains on my hand. That's the imagery, but I'm writing. Because Paul is on house arrest, some say maybe his feet were chained. Some say maybe it was his hand, maybe just the imagery. So that may not necessarily be literal in terms of his hand is literally chained. Some say it is. I'm not going to get into that. But whether it's literal or whether it's figuratively, you can interpret it literally or figuratively. But I like the imagery. Get the imagery here. I want you to get this imagery. My hand is chained and I'm writing. With a chained hand, this chained hand still has the flexibility to write. Don't y'all make me run. I can write when the enemy wants me chained. I'm blessed even in my bondage. The prison cannot prevent my pen. With the same hand that's chained, I'm going to be productive when I'm going through something that feels like bondage. Captivity cannot contaminate my call. I serve a God. We serve a God who, when we're dealing with chains, can say, you know what? Even if I'm chained, I'm asking God to break them. But if I got to deal with what feels like bondage and captivity and chaining of life, God said, I'm going to put some soup on top of your natural. And what I'm going to do, even in your chains, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless you to be productive. Some of the most productive things you're going to do is going to be when you feel like you're in bondage. So just because the chapter is ending does not mean you might not feel like some chains, some restrictions, some limitations. You may not feel totally free, but I'm still going to bless you. Woo. Yeah, it's not going to stop your call. Because what I'm going to do, I'm writing with my hands, but remember my chains. Remember I'm chained. Yeah. Yeah. Remember I'm limited. I'm halted. I'm hindered a little bit. But the enemy can't stop my plans. He says, here's another one. Remember my chains. He did not say remember my cemetery. That's some thing that may still bother me, but I ain't buried yet. A lot of us want to bury stuff because we're bothered. Just because you're bothered don't mean you're buried. The chain is not the same thing as the casket. So as long as it's a chain and not a casket, I got an opportunity because God is in control. Captivity is not going to contaminate my call. It's a chain. It's not a casket. It's a bond. It's not burial. I'm still here. I'm still here, and I'm productive while I'm in prison. I'm in prison and productive at the same time. May not be free yet, but while I'm here, I'm gonna make the most of it. Some of you are waiting till you feel better, get out of situations. Don't realize the best thing may be while you're in it. See, here's the reality. Life is a life that's full of heartbeats. Please understand this. What is life? Life is simply a designated number of heartbeats. Talk, Brian. Yeah. It's heartbeats. Ain't no chain. Break the chain. I hear you. Here's what I'm gonna say about the chain, Reginald. Divorce may be a chain for some people. It's like death. My mother would say that divorce feels like death. That's a chain that when you may have to live with that, the pain of a divorce. That's something that's gonna be hurtful. For me, the death of my sister, my mom, my best friend, my godmama, 3 weeks apart, a month apart. That's a chain. That's something that was hurtful. It's still, but even while I'm in it, I'm still being productive. I'm still. It's not gonna stop me, because life is a designated number of heartbeats. Thank you, Tosh. That's what it is. Life is a designated number of heartbeats. And here's the reality: only God knows the number of heartbeats that we have. But understand this: life is a designated number of heartbeats. The challenge with us is, and God knows how many heartbeats that each of us have. The problem is, or the issue is, we don't know which one we own. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again because it's heavy. Life is a designated number of heartbeats. The challenge for humanity is we don't know which heartbeat we're on. If we knew which heartbeat we were on, we might see life differently. We might live more fully, live more freely, because we don't know which number we're on. It's a designated number of heartbeats, which we don't know which one we're on. So that's why you got to live every day and enjoy every day. Some of us fixate too much, and we let the unknown put us in chains, because some of us chain ourselves. But God is saying, I want you that even if you don't feel your best, to live and enjoy and be free. Paul says, I'm in chains. Paul says, I may end up, I may not ever be free from these chains. I got a thorn in the flesh. He said, I'm not going to be free from it. Some of you may have diabetes that you may never be free from. That's a chain. That chain may not be broken. Some of you may have cancer. They may never be broken. Some of you may have an autistic child that's lived with you for the rest of your life. Paul would call that, it's not going to be something that's an easy situation, right? But while you're in it, God can put some supernatural on there and say, even with that thing around your hand, you still gonna be moving. Yeah, you may never get remarried from the divorce. That's something you may have to carry with you forever. You may have to carry a sickness with you. You may not never get over high blood pressure. You liver, kidney. This maybe something you have to deal with. But you still gonna. I'm writing it while I'm in bondage. Chain not gonna contaminate my the captivity not gonna contaminate my call. I'm gonna enjoy every heartbeat I have. Even though I'm in this chapter, yeah, I may not be where I want to be yet. But I thank God for the supernatural power of God that's gonna let me be productive while I'm in it. That's why I want to give somebody today. Enjoy every moment and be productive. Stop waiting to feel right. Stop waiting. Well, this ain't what I want. This ain't my plan. Is it working? Is it helpful? Enjoy the moment. Don't fixate over what ain't right. Don't fix over how I don't feel. Listen, enjoy the moment. May not be perfect. It may not be exactly like you want it to be. But does it bring more good than bad? Does it bring more happy than sad? Is it pushing you to another level? Many of us will look at life and look at the 20% that's wrong and not appreciate the 80% that's right. Many of us will look at the chain on our hand and stop writing, not realizing that the chain is a long chain. That it's not a handcuff behind your back. I can move. It's a long chain. I got room to go with it. May not be totally free, but I'm gonna enjoy the moment, because it may be God, the blessing of God. Even the difficult situations, enjoy the supernatural power of God. That's what he's saying. I'm writing and I got chains, and God is helping me to write with my chains. That's what Paul said. I wanted God to remove my thorn. God said, no, Paul, I'm not gonna move the thorn. Well, Paul, why would I remove your thorn, Paul? Why would I remove your chain, bud? Why would I remove a thorn? Listen, Paul, You've been on 3 missionary journeys with your thorn, bro. Paul, you've established churches all over Asia Minor with your thorn. Paul, you speak in more tongues than anybody with your thorn. Paul, you're going to write half the New Testament with your thorn. Paul, you're going to ordain, you're going to mentee Timothy and Luke and Mark with your thorn. You're going to train them how to be ministers with your thorn. You're going to establish order and give instructions for the church to follow for the rest of the age with your thorn. You're going to be the most successful missionary other than Jesus in the New Testament with your thorn, with your chain. Why would I move it? You're doing too good with it. You're praying more with it. You're writing more with it. You're more productive with it. If I move it, you might stop being who you are. Paul, your thorn room is the way to the throne room. Why would I move it, bro? You're doing too good with it. Now, I'm not going to move it. What I will do is give you some space in your chain. My grace is going to be sufficient for you. That's a supernatural power that you still can write with your own hand with the chains. Some chains can be broken. You're right, Reginald. Some chains can be broken. Some chains can be removed. Some stuff you might have to live with. You might have to live with a child that died. My mother never got over the death of my brother. My little brother died when he was 28 years old. My mother never got over that. She said a parent should never have to bury their child. My mother died still heartbroken because her 20-year-old baby died. That was a chain. That was something that she carried with her to the grave. But even in that, she blessed other single moms. Even in that, she still prayed for her children. So even though she carried that, God gave her supernatural power that she still could write. Carry that. Isn't that a blessing? So when you're in the chapter, you got to think about the power of survival. I'm almost finished. You got to think about the presence of the supernatural. That I can write it even with my chains, with the chain. You got to carry out with it. I wish I could tell you every chain gonna be broken with what he's talking about. Because Paul, let me share something with you. Paul died in chains. That's why he got his head cut off. Luke died in chains. Peter crucified with his head down and feet up in chains. Bartholomew flayed to death. Some burning a kettle. All the apostles, they died in chains. That's what they were called martyrs. Some stuff may not be broken. My mama not coming back to life in this life. Not in this one. That's for me, that's like a chain. That's a pain I'm gonna carry. I'm not gonna ever get over that. I will never get over my mom's passing. I've seen people who've had their mom pass 20, 30 years and they still feel it. They still miss their mom. I will never not miss my mom. That's something I'm gonna carry with me until my last days. I'm a mama's boy, a proud one. When I'm 70 years old, 80 years old, if I'm still alive, I'm gonna tell you I miss my mama. That's something I'm gonna, but guess what? But the pain of my mama's absence ain't gonna stop my preaching. I'm gonna preach with the pain. I can make it. Because God's gonna put some super on my natural. And even though I got the chain on my hand, I still can write. Even though I'm gonna be preach on Mother's Day without my mama face spinning out, but I can preach with it on my hand. Remember, I'm hurting, but I'm still gonna be productive because I got super on my natural. So you remember the power of survival, the presence of the supernatural. Thirdly, the prayer of the spiritual. That's the third point. The prayer of the spiritual. So if you're going to end the chapter, you got to understand the power of survival, the presence of the supernatural, and then thirdly, I call this the prayer of the spiritual. Let's put all those points up there. When I kept reading that verse, I didn't like what's in this verse, because you read it, you don't think it's a whole lot there. But I said, let me just sit with this verse. Holy Spirit, just what you telling me out of this verse. I said that part. Yeah, yeah. I wish I could say like Tasha Cobb, break every chain, break every chain. Some chain may not be broken. You got a special needs child that you may have to live, will never get married, will never leave home. That's the imagery of the chain. That's the issue. That's something that restricts you. It's going to limit you somewhat. But God can be present and let you still move. You're not immobilized. Maybe antagonized, but you're not immobilized. You're still going to be able to move with the chain because God's going to give you grace. But here's the prayer of the spiritual. And I'm finished. Put the verse back up there. I'm going to let y'all go. Oh, boy, I feel the Holy Ghost. I, Paul. That's the presence. That's the presence. Hey, Shauna, that is so beautiful. I love y'all. That's I, Paul. I love y'all. That's the I, Paul. That's the presence. That's the power of survival. I'm still here. Write this reading with my own hand. Remember my chains. That's the presence of the supernatural. You see that? I can write it while I'm chained. That's the imagery there. That's the imagery. God's with me. God's with me. Some chains gonna be broken. They can be broken. But the imagery is some stuff you got to carry with you. That's the point I'm trying to make. But God gonna be with you and let you still be productive. He's gonna be with you. Even if you eat. Thank God for the chains that he breaks. But there's some things you may have to carry, which some thorns he may not get rid of. But even in it, if you got to deal with it, God's gonna be there with you. But then that's the presence of supernatural. With my hand and my chains, I want y'all to see God in that, because that's the imagery. But here is the prayer of the spiritual. Grace be with you. Favor be with you. Charis is the Greek word for favor. What I'm going to do is this chapter is ending. As this chapter is ending, I'm ending this chapter with the expectation of favor. Woo! Colossians, you don't have much finances, but I speak favor. Got a lot of fake doctrines happening now in Colossae, but I speak favor. Maybe you may never have a large following in Colossae again. People may not travel to you like they will in Jerusalem or Rome or Philippi or Galatia. That's cool. Even if the territory never turns around, even if the situation never gets back to where it was in the 4th century BC, my final words to you are favor. I speak favor over your life. And we close the chapter with the spiritual declaration that favor is yours. Hallelujah. If you ain't got no fella in your life, I close the chapter with favor. You may close the chapter without a female in your life, but take favor with you. You may close this chapter without a lot of finances, but close the chapter with favor. You may close this chapter still having to deal with some foolishness, but let favor trump the foolishness. Don't ever let foolishness be the closing word on the chapter. I just told you in the book Necessary Endings, how you end one chapter is necessary. The correct ending of one chapter is necessary for the beginning of a new one. Don't you end the chapter with foolishness on your mind. Because if you end the chapter with foolishness on your mind, you're going to open a new chapter the same way you close the last one. So I declare in your life, change your perspective. This ain't about females. This ain't about if I got a fella. This ain't about if I got finances. Mm-mm. Foolishness and feebleness and fickleness and fake folk. Come on. Let the last chapters, let the last chapter hear the resounding declaration of favor. Now here's what's amazing. Paul does not close the chapter with chains. Put that verse back up. I see that this last time. I promise it's the last time. But I need to make sure that you see it clearly. I, Paul, write this script with my own hand. Remember my chains. I'm so thankful that that wasn't the end of the chapter. Remember my chains. I'm so glad that Paul had enough fortitude to say no. So I'm not gonna let remember my chains be the last word of the chapter. Don't let change be the legacy. Don't let chains be the last word. You would think after chains he would say freedom. The opposite of change is freedom. He don't ask for freedom. He doesn't ask here for the breaking of the chains. What he says is, I speak favor, even with the chains. And whatever your new chapter it will be, as a man of God, and under the unction of the power of the Holy Spirit, I speak over your life today that chains will not be your epitaph. I speak over your life today that you close this chapter, now what I'm going to do, how I'm going to make it. You're going to look back and say, God put these people in my life. God blessed me this out. God took this person out of my life. God, what are you doing? Because sometimes we begin to wonder, was it God? Because we let what's not perfect rob us of the God in it. Or we let what appeal to our flesh only make us not see the devil in it. The devil don't want you blessed. The devil don't want your life going to another level. The devil wants you going higher. That's how you know if it's God. How do I know if it's God or the devil? Has my life gone higher? It's God. Has life been more peaceful? It's God. Has it been more clear? It's God. Because the opposite of peaceful is hell. The opposite of clarity is confusion. The opposite of peace is chaos. Many of us we don't understand that God can bless us even in crazy ways. If it's chaotic, change, whatever it is, I don't care if you don't know what it is, don't close the chapter with confusion. Don't close the chapter with change. Close the chapter with favor. And I came today and say, that's it. At the end is grace. That's it. That's it, Tina. It's favor. I'm going to close it with favor. I'm going to acknowledge all my foolishness, acknowledge all my pain, acknowledge my change, acknowledge it's maybe unclear, but favor is the last word. And if you close with favor and put an exclamation point. That's how the spiritual pray. And I promise you, when you close with favor, get ready to open a new chapter, to start a new book. And you're going to start that same new book, the new chapter, new book. May favor be your ending words of one and the opening words of another. Pull your mind today. Stop tripping. Settle your emotions. Settle your emotions. You ain't got to be clear. Favor clarified. You ain't got to have all the answers. You got favor. Close with favor. Not with foolishness, not with your emotions, not with your feelings. The feelings change. Say, God, close with favor. And I decree and declare over your life today, on this 8th day of June, the year of our Lord 2021, that as you close whatever chapters God has called you to close, may favor be your portion. Close it with favor. And watch God. Not foolishness, not anger, don't have to be clear. I just told you what. Let favor end it. Let favor begin it. I'm out of my time. Hope y'all enjoyed this book of Colossians with me. We're going to start a new series Thursday. What a close. As we get ready to close this 15 month, as we get ready to close this, worship services at home. I don't know what all the next chapter gonna look like. I don't know. I don't know what the next chapter. I don't know how many people gonna come back to church. I don't know. It's so much I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna be in our cathedral. I don't know. We're doing surveys. I don't know what it's gonna look like. But here's what I do know. I'm not afraid. Because if God sustained me for 15 months without seeing our people, when I close the chapter, I close with favor. Don't have to have the answers. Don't have to see it. I didn't see how I was gonna make it through the pandemic. So I'm gonna walk by faith, not by sight. God, just take me day by day, daily walking. I don't know which. Listen, I'm gonna close. I just told you life is a series of destiny heartbeats. The problem is we don't know which one we own. So enjoy every heartbeat, one day at a time. Enjoy every heartbeat. Many things about tomorrow I may not understand, but I know who holds the future, and I know who holds my hand. As we sign off from the book of Colossians, Paul is still in chains. Paul is still in jail. He may never see the Colossians again, but his closing words are charis be unto you, favor. And with that same grace that Paul spoke over the Colossians, I speak over your life. Close the chapter, but God, walk in peace and favor. You've been watching Morning Dew. Y'all tune in Thursday at 9:30. I'll be back with our new series. Y'all gotta, if you got time tomorrow, you gotta check my Bible study out. It's deep. How the Bible came to be. Could probably be one of my most special Bible studies in the last several years. If you missed last week, you missed a blessing. So I see you Thursday for Morning Dew. But as always, remember this: if you will be good to God, then God will be good to you. Till we meet again, peace and love. Peace.